Good evening and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin. I am happy to have you here because today we're going to review Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. For me, this book was one that I have had on my TBR shelf for, a really long time. Daniel Keyes wrote a nonfiction book called The Minds of Billy Milligan, and it is about somebody who's from my area in Ohio who has multiple personalities, and it's a true story. It is what the movie Split is loosely based on, because other parts of his consciousness committed crimes that the main consciousness was unaware of. So that book was really fascinating. I had been familiar with this title, but I had not been familiar with the author. And when I read The Minds of Billy Milligan and loved that book, I read the author bio at the end, and it said that Keyes wrote this book. And I'm like, well, shit, that has been on my TBR for ever as a sci-fi-ish novel. I guess it gets marketed as sci-fi because it has a strong scientific analytical line of the plot and subject matter, but this is very much something that could be based in reality. I am a big sci-fi fan. I typically enjoy sci-fi that is more outer space and aliens and things like that. So when we get sci-fi like this, similar to like Recursion, where you've got a scientific development and what happens after said development, those books are typically hit or miss for me. This was a hit. I really enjoyed this. I loved the way it was written. If you are not familiar with Flowers for Algernon, it is about a mentally handicapped man who has some ineptitude for writing and reading, that he has worked very hard to as going to school as an adult to learn to do those things. And he is singled out by his teacher for a scientific study where they are hoping to allow him to gain massive amounts of intellect in a short period of time by performing an operation on him. And so this book is about him deciding to be a part of the study, him writing his progress reports on how he's feeling, and what happens after the study, and so on and so forth. This book is written in a way that you are in Charlie's head, who is the mentally handicapped person, and you see him develop from a very novice reader writer into a genius that has an IQ that surpasses the people who did the operation on him and the people who have been studying him. It's a really fascinating idea on intellect and human interaction, whether or not people are better off in the state that they were given, if they've got friends, if they've got a human connection. I wouldn't say it's my favorite book I've read. I think that The Minds of Billy Milligan by Daniel Keyes is better than this. I gave that book 5 stars, so obviously this one is really good and I definitely recommend, but I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because I think that there is a couple of opportunities that were missed here where he could have delved a little further in with some of the side characters. I get what's trying to happen, but for me it fell a little flat, and it took me a little bit of time to get through the middle part of this book because it was kind of, and then I learned this, and then I learned that, which might be very interesting for some people, but for me, it wasn't very interesting, which is unfortunate. 4 out of 5. I know this wasn't included on my April TBR, but I wanted to finish it in March and that didn't happen. Obviously, I just finished it today, so that's where we're at. Anyway, guys, have a good evening. I hope you're staying safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye now.